My question is, how could we place ourselves in the position of others, especially when we grew up in different cultures, different backgrounds, and it seems like we don't have enough information in order to understand each other?
Sometimes it's just enough to be with them at that moment. So many times people have a story, so you may not get to understand the story of that person. But what you can, because you haven't had time to ask about it, you haven't had time for them to tell you. But at that time, you can look at people's eyes, you can see their energy, you can just be with them. And that might tell you even more than their story. Or at least it will help you understand if they have happy energy or if they're feeling pain or anxiety. If you take yourself out of the equation, then you can just look. And you'll get a lot out of just looking. But sometimes we have ideas. Oh, that person just said that, then I'm going to say that next. Or maybe that's what's happening to them. The moment that starts moving, then you stop being with that person. So I think that the best way to connect with somebody is just being there, being present, just looking, just hearing, just sensing that. And then that's going to give you a lot more. And maybe from there, you'll know what to do, how to respond.
Yeah, because the own past experience is already in that person. And what needs to come out at the moment will come out.
Right. All of their whole life is that moment. Took them to right in front of you. And the more clear that we become, the more some intuition appears. And we can perceive people, not in an intellectual, rational way, but just a connection way. It's possible. But if we only attach to our intellectual side, then that ability, it's never developed or explored. So that's why practice is so powerful, because practice helps us, meditation practice, helps us let go of that intellectual aspect of our humanities, which is not good or bad, it's a wonderful gift. And then open up to just perception of the moment and allowing some inner wisdom to appear. Sometimes we can't explain why we act the way we do, why we say the way we do that might be so helpful. Where did that come from? It's some wisdom that we all have. We just have to tap into that.
Yeah, wonderful. Sometimes my analytical mind comes in and my intuition mind comes in, and there are two kinds of decisions and I'm ambivalent between the two.
But the more you practice, the more you recognize that coming and going. And then you understand, oh yes, sometimes my mind is analytical, that's okay. But you can just kind of relax right now. Let me just experience, let me just look, let me just listen, let me just sense.
The knowing becomes stronger and stronger.
Right. And then sometimes you think about it and you're like, oh, that makes sense. Now I can see why this person, and then you come up with something that is going to be intellectual. Your words, your thoughts about it, what you say does have some intellectual component to it. After all, you are using words. But it's not based on just what the intellect, the reasoning, and which is usually based on just your experience, not theirs. And I notice that the more I am into my own mind and into my own things, then the less I can connect with other people's suffering, other people's minds, other people's lives. But the more I let go of my own crap and just open up and just, I don't know, nothing, just not knowing, but being present, then I can connect more.
So you become a Jido Posonim or Dharma Master at a very young age?
I started practicing when I was 20.
Yeah.
So now I'm 42. So
wow.
It's been a long time of this.
It's just 22 years.
Yeah, already gone.
Yeah, but I mean, for many people, they practice for 30 years, 35 years, and maybe not intense enough.
Don't make
reason.
Right, you're trying to come up with an intellectual reason. He practiced very hard. What did he do? What did Carlos do? I don't know. I don't know what made me walk into the Providence Zen Center 22 years ago. And why the Providence Zen Center? And why the teachings of Zen Master Sun-san, and why the Cambridge Zen Center, and why you and I sitting here right now, I don't know.
But it can be helpful in some way when we chase back the reasons, right?
I can trace back my steps, right? And say, I did this, then I did that, then I did that. But why all of this? Why exactly this way? We don't know. But if we trust that not knowing, we can just live. And just, you invited me to talk to you today. I was not expecting that. I'm like, okay, no problem. Things happen by themselves if you let that be and you trust that process. So I don't know why some people become teachers at an early age and why some people takes them many lifetimes. I don't know. But it is what it is. And all what we can do is attain our true selves this moment. That we can do. All of them. All of us. Teaching is just a title or a job or something that we're doing in this organization. But hearing 100% to whatever sounds are in front of you, seeing, sensing, you can do that anytime. Anybody can do that. That's called waking up. Another name for that is enlightenment. But sometimes it's not enough for people. Oh, I'm listening. Oh, that's it? I want more. Then far away from the truth, because you cannot have any more than what it is, what's in front of you.
Then the thinking mind step in.
Yes.
And fall back to the thinking mind.
Yeah.
Something I feel that my thinking mind is 99% and something else is 1%.
Don't worry about it. Just keep practicing. Don't worry about your thinking mind being 99%. Don't worry about it. Behind that, it's already your clear mind. It's always there. It doesn't go anywhere. It's like there's a shining moon and some clouds are in front. Don't worry about the clouds. The clouds come and go. The moon is always shining. You have to trust that. By natural process, if you practice, the clouds by themselves will come down. By themselves.
The thing is that we love the clouds and other people love clouds too, because the clouds that make us feel alive. So when we have sweet emotion, we often feel alive. So that's the reason why we stick to the emotion of the clouds. But at a certain point, I feel that's enough, unhappiness and happiness. I truly want to go beyond both. And I wonder what truly helped me to go beyond the opposite. And one thing that I found is the challenges. But sometimes I feel tired.
Living doesn't have to be a challenge. Just whatever you're doing, just do it. So if you are brushing your teeth, just brush your teeth. But carefully, with all your life. Make your whole life that act of just brushing your teeth. If you're cooking, just make that your whole life right at that moment. If you're driving, if you're talking to somebody, become that 100%. Not have a mind that is somewhere, thinking about something or judging something, and then an action separated from it. Try to make them become one and just do it. Then it's not a challenge. Then you just try. Because the challenge comes from, I can do that, I cannot do it. I succeed, I fail. Then it's a challenge. But if you just try, you don't know the outcome. Let's say that somebody's trying to jump over something. It's very high. So with that in mind is, if I can make it, success. If I don't make it, failure. But if you just try, over, under, not different. But you keep trying. So you keep trying. Oh, I didn't do it today. It's okay. Or I did it. It's okay. But we tend to attach to accomplishing challenges as something that it's very important. I think the trying is the more important part.
What you observe, you have to do.
Right.
So you say that you suffer from love. I think we all suffer from love. The one interesting thing is that when love comes, it seems like we have a flood of energy, and it seems like the chemical and the biology acts by itself, and it draws our mind into that. I saw it, but sometimes I can't escape from it. And that's the reason why I think about kind of good pains or challenges in order to help me not to get lost in certain kind of emotion, especially strong emotions.
Actually, I can tell you right now, I'm still experiencing some of these attachments. I hope that people sometimes see, oh, Carlos or somebody else is a teacher, and a teacher's already fixed everything in their life, and they attained something. No. When I was younger and I would look at my teachers, I would always think, oh, these are some perfect people. That's my mistake. Okay? So I can tell you right now that this very period of my life, I am going through some love situation where, I love this person. Oh, but this person maybe doesn't love me like I love them. And maybe he will leave me. And I don't want that. And what should I do? Oh, I'm too strong. All this I've experienced very recently. Very recently. And I look at that, and maybe intellectually I can say, oh, this is just attachment. I should let it go, blah, 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 blah. But it's very real. So instead of trying to fight it, I keep looking at it and accept it and let it be. It will change. At some point, something will shift. And if it ends, everything ends. So when it ends, maybe I suffer from that. That's okay. Then that also will change. So I'm not afraid of the turmoil of love. I'm not trying to push it away. I'm not trying to move to a monastery in the mountains to run away from that and become a monk and say, I can't have love because love is like a poison or it's attachment and I want to let go of attachment. What I try to do during the whole time is keep reminding myself of what we call small love and big love. Small love holds on to and doesn't want to let go. Big love lets go. And always thinks about what's better for the other person. How can I help them? Or both of us. How can we both of us be more harmonious instead of just what I want? And sometimes my small love grabs on. But because of my practice, I notice when I grab on. So I try to keep letting go. I try to keep letting go. But I'm a human being, and I feel myself lucky that I'm going through all of this. Sometimes it's painful, sometimes it doesn't taste good, sometimes my mind can say, you've been practicing meditation for 20 years, shouldn't you just let go? That's bullshit. I'm still a human being. And I can recognize the process, and I know it's going through it, and I know it will change. Everything always changes.
But we have choices, right? We have a choice to go into that relationship or we don't.
Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we think we do. Sometimes you say, I can always go, I can go left, and I can go left, but you go right. So after you're on the right, you're right on that side, did you have a choice? Well, you did. But now you're here. So what do you do now? Okay. Definitely doesn't help to go back and say, I should have gone left if I had only listened. Or have your family or your friends tell you, you should have, you should know better. That doesn't help. So what I said is, we have choices, but their choices can become more clear when we are present 100%. With, like I said earlier, with all of our senses, with our whole being in that moment and just perceiving, instead of letting our wanting to drive a certain outcome. But when that appears, then you deal with it as best you can. The good thing about meditation practice is that you're better suited to recognize these desires, these things that come up, these emotions, and recognize that those are ultimately not who you truly are.
So why do you follow it?
I don't know. I don't know. It's sweet.
Yeah, it's sweet.
It tastes good.
And you still want to take it.
Yeah, and maybe I could say at one point, it'll be too sweet. And it's like, okay, I finished. This is really not helpful. But I trust in that choice. If that choice is not strong enough yet, and then I have to keep living that until it becomes clear, sometimes we call that digesting your karma. So in Buddhism, we talk a lot about karma. That means karma is like your habits of mind, your patterns, which then get reflected into your situations moment to moment. So right now, my karma is that I met this person and we're in this relationship and I hold on and I push and I let go and we're dealing with all of this. Sometimes we just have to digest it. Kind of like when you eat a big meal and it's in your stomach and maybe it tasted good at the beginning and then it's like, oh, all that is not so pleasant sometimes. But at some point, gets through. So I'm not afraid. I'm not worried about digesting my own karma.
That's the thing. How can we experience it in the way we digest it, but not create the deeper pattern for the future? That's
Practice. Because practicing will always help you recognize how you keep creating more and more of this pattern, or how you can just keep letting them go. So yes, I am going through this, but I keep telling myself, put it down. Let it go. Let it go.
How do you let go when you are in relationship, for example?
Moment to moment.
What kind of behavior?
Well, for example, it could be something as simple as my mind comes like, what is he doing right now? Is he thinking about me? Is he thinking that it should be over? Or that type of thinking can appear out of nowhere. So I can look at it and be like, psh, just return to your breath. Return to this moment. And it's going to come back up and then return to this moment. Just, that's something like that. Or let me look at my phone. Did he write? Oh, why is he not responding? Oh, no, let it go. Just be now, be here.
Then the emotion will become less and less.
Maybe. But don't forget, everything is always changing. And then maybe there's been time in my life where no love, nothing happening like that. Okay, that was that time, but that time also changed. And this time will also change.
Yeah, so how we experience is important.
Right, just learn to trust this moment. If you really return to this moment, everything I was talking about, my relationship and this love, it actually does not exist. Where is it? Show it to me.
Who knows what will happen the next moment, right?
Next moment, right? He might be dead right now. Or I might die in this interview.
Come on.
Absolutely.
How can love bring happiness but not misery?
I think when you are fully engaged in this concept of big love, not small love. Small love means grasping, holding, wanting for myself. And then eventually something changes and I lose it, and then there's this game of, oh, I want it back. Big love means letting go. So if it comes, oh, wonderful. If it goes, oh, wonderful. No problem. And also, so one thing that helped me through practice is to recognize that through my thinking, I make myself separate from anybody else, from you, from my lover, from my friends, from my students. We're separate. But when we're not thinking, we're actually one. So at that moment, when my mind is completely in the present, this present is all of you. We're not separate from Buddha, from God. So we're already it. How much more love can there be than that? Then we relax into it. Wonderful.
So when we are not totally in the present, we can't experience big love, right? But maybe the concept would be helpful.
I would agree with that. In the intellectual side, that makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
But that's still missing the point, because it's more about that experience.
So if someone wants to experience big love, they have to come to practice first.
I think that many people experience big love all the time. Every time that A mother sees their child and just hugs them, and there's no I am your mother hugging you child. It's just that action. It's maybe you are walking down Central Square and a kid or an old lady falls and you just react and you help. That's big love. Somebody comes in and smiles at you and there's no, oh, that person smiled. You don't have to go through some intellectual process to analyze what just happened. You're just there. Yeah, those are all faces of big love. So no, you don't actually have to come to the Kindred Zen Center and say a retreat, but it definitely helps to recognize that in everywhere we are, not just in certain situations. It's common practice. It really helps. It really helps our life, and it helps this world. Many people complain about the government and about guns and violence and poverty and war, but the only thing you can truly change is yourself. Then at least you're one more human being acting clearly, helping the environment by your actions, helping your fellow people with your clear, loving, compassionate action. Okay, and then maybe you inspire others. Or maybe something out of that clarity comes up, some action that really moves a lot of people. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes a teacher told me that your practice is like the tides. When your practice is strong and the tides rise, all boats in the bay come up with it. So you can think of the boats in the bay like your family, your friends, your lovers, your neighborhood, and so on. A famous teacher said, if one mind is not clear, the whole universe is not clear. If one mind is clear, the whole universe is clear. Very interesting teaching. Kind of points to make sure that you wake up to your true nature, moment to moment. Best way to help this world.
Any kind of explanation, sometimes it just get us into deeper thinking and thinking and thinking. It can't stop. So could you provide an experiment for us when we get lost in thinking? What should we do?
If you have some thinking about something that worries you, or that you are obsessed with or anxious about, ask yourself very deeply, where does it come from? Where is it? Like, where is it physically? Where does it start? It's like there is some type of awareness of these thoughts and of these worries and these fears. Can you trace them back to the source? 100%. Let me investigate that. Let me look. Where is this fear that I have about this coming from? And then go inside and look for it. Look for it. And then you'll see what happens. That's the experiment.
So when you are not identified with a certain kind of personality, how does this help you break a certain kind of limitations?
So a big deal in my life was coming out as a gay person and telling my family, and that was so against what my upbringing and my background and what everybody told me. It was so different that, of course, it creates some very deep conflicts in your mind. So I am this, I am not that, I am gay, I am straight. So either label was very difficult to bear. And then when I realized that I am not gay or straight, or like I had told in the other story, a man or a woman, that's just an idea about myself. It's like, well, you can go walking down the street. Are you gay or are you straight? You're just walking down the street. You're walking down the street, I don't know, continuously always being attracted to another. No, you're just walking down the street, right? Maybe you're having cereal and you're just eating the cereal. At that moment, are you gay? Are you straight? Are you a man? Are you a woman? Are you Hispanic? You're just eating cereal. There's nothing in your mind saying, I am these things. But at one point your mind says, oh yep, I am those things. But when you recognize that you truly are not, then you're kind of free from all of that. And you're just present, wherever you are. And if that moment means, I don't know, kissing another man or holding your hand, okay, then somebody can say, well, that's what we call gay. Okay, fine. But it doesn't narrow you. It doesn't bind you into certain things. You also don't have to be telling the whole world, this is me. You can just let go of it a little bit.
Yeah, in some society, it's not in United States, but perhaps some other country, it's a big deal. So you still feel pain when the parents feel pain?
Of course. But in my particular case, my family has come around to acceptance. So actually, that was a great teaching for them, because they had very strong attachments against this. And then now their son, somebody they love very much, is going through this. So they had a choice. Either I love my son or something's got to give. And they chose love over their attachments. So that was good teaching for them. Painful, but most of the good teaching is painful.
How can you help them feel less painful?
I was able to accept myself first. And I was able to do that through practice. Practice really helped, because there were a lot of internal demons. I'm going to disappoint my parents. This is not right. It shouldn't be this way. Why is it this way? So with practice, I could see that it was all just thinking, and that it was all just, that I wasn't one thing or the other. And I got to know my true self, and then, oh, there's this. And then on top of that, these human tendencies come and go. Then once I was kind of solid with that, that's when I was able to tell them. Because at least I was strong with myself, and I said, okay, I know you're not going to like this, and it's going to be very painful, but I'm still going to love you and still want to be your son. And then that was up to them then. I can't, after that, there's not much else I could do. But if I wasn't even sure about myself, then that would have been more difficult for everybody. I consider myself so blessed that for whatever reason, I found this practice in my life. And maybe somebody's watching this video and say, why am I watching this? And why is this inviting me to do this? But it's a very serious invitation to try it. Because of everything I've done in my life since I have memory of the events that I've done, I would consider starting this practice and having kept it consistently probably the most worthwhile. Because if you don't get to know yourself and understand yourself, then what's the point of living? Trust me, the idea of trying things out, to look for things outside, feels like makes sense until you try it many times and it always collapses. There is a calligraphy hanging from the walls at the Providence Zen Center, and it says, 100 years of looking for money and power, and things turn to dust in an instant. 3 days of looking into the self, infinite treasure. I love that.
I love that too. Thank you so much.